All right, let's do it live on a Tuesday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Snapple, the official tea and juice drink of your Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
I am merely Beau. He is the great Z. I'm covered in snow over here, pal.
Boy, I had to drive out of the blizzard back in Berea today. Happy to be back in the office. But, yeah, it woke up to a winter wonderland here. And
It really was. It's pure joy.
it's beautiful. I don't mind the snow.
I
I'll
love
take
it.
snow
I'm fine with it.
every day over
Yeah.
rain. Every day.
Of course. Snow over rain, wind, always. If it's going to be cold, there might as well be snow. At least it's beautiful. Yeah,
Agreed.
I'm for it. I think this is going to last, a day? And then tomorrow we're 60? Is that what the meteorologists are? We're going to be warm again quickly, right?
Yeah, we get up to, we'll go up to 60 by Thursday. Sunday it says 61 high, 50% chance.
Balmy.
50% chance of rain, and there's going to be wind. It's,
Wind, too?
Man.
I was so optimistic, no wind Sunday.
You can't. You don't even start looking until Friday. You
Okay,
You can't even look because it could change 5 times.
All right, Gibby, fine. I just want just a nice chill day on the lake for a little Browns, Eagles. Frankly, I know we're going to move on to the Eagles mañana.
Yeah.
But we want them to have to throw the ball. They're a much better running team than they are a throwing team.
Yes, they are. Yeah, they really are struggling. Wentz has been particularly awful. Their whole offensive attack has been bad. Yeah, so it would be. Yeah, the rain is fine. It's the wind that I say the rain is fine as someone who doesn't have to stand out in it for 4 hours. But
that's right.
Well, I'm sure you have some sort of rain gear, don't you? Some nice Gore-Tex?
I do. And honestly, if it was just rain, that's not that big of a deal. Just rain, but it's the wind. Just get no wind. I'm out on wind. Done with it. It's great.
Yeah.
Let
It's
the
really
wind go
hard.
wherever the windmills are. Provide us electricity and energy. Great.
Right. You'd probably do great sticking some windmills in the middle of Lake Erie, wouldn't you?
There's no doubt.
Just stick them out there?
Just right there. You could put
Yeah,
windmills.
just stick them.
There's the tunnel and the concourse right behind the north side of the stadium. On that concourse, the few tunnels that go out, you stick a windmill right in the middle of those tunnels, you'll have power for days.
You really would. You'd thrive in it. You absolutely would thrive in it. And we will get to this when we think about what we missed offensively here shortly. But it is, let's just say this, it's really difficult to judge what is trying to be done here under the conditions with which we've played the last 2 games.
Yes.
Very difficult to try to say, okay, yes, we have 2 of the 7 best backs in football. We've got a great offensive line, and so we can win that way. But it's hard to know what progress is being made week to week when the conditions are as abhorrent as they've been the last 2 times we've played.
Right, and the progress you're looking for has nothing to do with our ability to run the football. The progress you're looking for has to do with our offensively anyway. It has to do with our ability to throw the football. And then defensively, you want to know where you are. Is this a defense that is ready to help you make a playoff run without the elements, or is it not? And those are the big questions. And frankly, I think those are questions that still need to be answered. The good news is before you get into what I would call a very difficult 2-game stretch, you get what I would refer to as a pretty nice 2-game stretch in the sense that you get, Eagles at home at Jacksonville. And the Jags are a testy bunch. Yeah. They're a feisty bunch.
They are. They play hard, yeah.
So
is it too late in the game, do you think, for us to request taking this show on the road to Ponte Vedra Beach for that week? And then, the 3 of us go down there. We've already shown that we can do this remotely. So the 3 of us go down there. We set up. We visit with some Florida Browns backers, maybe do some Browns backers Florida Center stuff for the week leading. Is it too late to try to get that done?
I was with you.
I love the Zegura look right now.
I was with you.
Stream.
Well, and it involved somehow the procurement of a private jet. We fly down there. We play, the 3 of us in a group without others, play Sawgrass. We then do our show. Right. We broadcast the game. We fly back on a private jet without interacting with really other humans. That I was.
Well, socially distanced Browns backers. Every 6
like we're in a glass
and mass.
case.
Yeah. We're separate and just talk and wave.
Fine.
And
that
can we do that? Can we get that? Is it too late in the game for that? I'm just thinking it'd be nice to get a little.
Gibby and I do not live
one
in
more hit of vitamin D
in elite Hudson area, so maybe you could help if you can get the jet. If you can procure the jet, we're in.
I procure. I could procure the jet.
Yeah.
Gibby, then, if somehow we could arrange travel, could we get that done? Do we have the ability to get that done if somehow
I
we
can make anything happen.
Get back.
Well,
You tell
nice
me
to
where
get
we're
just a
going,
jolt
and I'll find
of
us a
vitamin D.
place.
One more jolt.
Nice Airbnb.
Before we hunker in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Airbnb
get
on the
us
beach.
wherever
I'd love
we
to
need
see
to be.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'll have the MIT kids get working on that. All right. Let's get into the OBM Hot Topics. Ohio Business Machine, preferred copier provider of your Cleveland Browns of all the X's and O's. For your office, call 216-485-2000. Visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. As you can tell, if you are watching on the stream, and maybe just by the way that this all sounds, Z is back in studio, and so the facility back open. Late yesterday, however, the Browns placed fullback Andy Janovich on the reserve COVID-19 list, and all of the contact tracing was good, and so that's how you're back in there. And today's an off day anyway, but that's how you were able to get to where we are today. Good Z.
Yeah, and again, good news in the sense that the Browns were already in the intensive protocol, which would mitigate the risk, and obviously it's limited the exposure. The two positives, or two players that have landed on the COVID reserve list had not brought any close contacts with them. Chris Hubbard, obviously, and Andy Janovich. So, Janovich is important to what you do. Janovich is important to what you do. So that's a difficult one for the Browns. But the good news is, being a guy who was in that running back room, you could envision a catastrophic scenario where your close contacts were Chubb and Hunt and all of that. So the fact that that's not the case, I think, is very good. And just to kind of put in perspective, we ran 65 plays on offense last game. Janovich played 15 snaps. So under a quarter, but still valuable and certainly a role that we don't have. Another true fullback, obviously, on our active roster, Johnny Stanton. Oh, but we do.
Are you sure?
Oh, have we done that news
sure?
already? Did I miss that? Johnny Stanton?
No. Did you see Mac Wilson today on Twitter?
Oh, Mac is volunteering himself as a...
Max can play fullback. He put a video of himself just absolutely road grading for Alabama on a touchdown plunge. Just road graded.
So maybe
number
that's
30
what he will
Alabama.
do.
Yeah, he said, he even said he would volunteer to do so. It's a great video. Like, he just smokes the poor kid in the hole. Smokes him.
I can't wait to check that out. By the way, Mac also with the great picture of he and Taki simultaneously leaping 20 feet off the ground with the snow falling. Just tremendous.
But that's cool when I saw those images come out that Sark took. Every football player in their heart of hearts, and we asked Joe yesterday when you were talking about the Dome Stadium and all that.
We were talking about
they're all just little kids.
Yes.
They're just little kids.
Of course.
So, like, you're at the anthem, and all of a sudden it's going crazy, and it's sleet, and it's snow, and it's hail, and you just are a kid who wants to go play in the mud and the snow. I mean, that's really what it was. It was such an awesome image. I love that image of those two guys. And knowing them a little bit, it makes it even more special,
Oh, yeah. They were fired up. And, by the way, Johnny Stanton would be the fullback. He'd be elevated. He is on our practice squad and would give some competition to Mac for those reps. But Stanton was a guy that they liked. They brought in out of UNLV. So you do have coverage there in the offense. And that's why this practice squad this year I think is so valuable, because you're able to carry – with 16 guys, you're able to have an extra fullback. You're able to have an extra kicker. Yeah. You're able to have things that would normally you probably would not have a dedicated, certainly not for a fullback only or for a kicker. And so because of the protocols that were put in place wisely by the league, the Browns will have a fullback on their roster. Is he as good as Andy Janovich? I mean, look, probably not. But you have somebody who can go in there, and this is his opportunity perhaps for Johnny Stanton this weekend to show that he belongs in the National Football League.
In addition to that, another roster move today. We are bringing back a familiar face. Derek Willey's back to the practice squad. Of course, we remember Derek very well.
Yes.
And so now he comes back into the practice squad. And what can you read into this move, Z?
Well, Derek's a guy that has good chemistry with Baker. They've been together for a couple of years. He is not the speed component. He is not the take the top off the defense component, but 6'4", big body. Again, could be somebody that, we bring in for contested catch type situations, red zone, stuff like that, and to see what he still has. So I like Derek Willey's. He's been a good player for the Browns when he's been here. And this is a team, again, familiar with him. And I think for Derek, that's very important. to be someplace where they know you. They know what he's done. Again, 6'4", 207, 3 catches, 61 yards for his career back in 2018. So last year didn't play, had that injury that cost him in 18, but another run here, and just somebody to give a look to. Give a look to and see what he can do.
Did you watch last night?
I watched very little of it. I watched portions of it. It was difficult to watch, and by the way, the misuse of Allen Robinson, who has been one of my favorite players in the league since he came in. Yeah. Gibby, you didn't know that.
No.
I longed for him in the 2014 draft. Boy, did I want him to be a Brown, and I still would love him to come be a Cleveland Brown.
Yeah.
The fact that they don't throw him the ball in the red zone and they throw it to a couple of very diminutive receivers is mind-boggling to me. He's so good, and he's their only weapon on offense. They're so bad. They're tough to watch. The Vikings should have won that game by 100, but they won. Yeah. They won ugly. Cole was out there slinging the pill. I mean, it had some nice elements.
He got lit up throwing that football, and then he got into it. The long snapper had the audacity to, give him some lip on the sideline. And I'm like, dude, you hopscotch that ball to him. Special teams suck because of you, buddy, not because of Cole.
Not because of Cole, no.
Yeah, not because of Cole.
I'd like to see Cole get that coffin corner back there. One should have been down at the 1-inch line. The other one, not as good, but it's just good to see Cole.
By the way, the where would you rate Mike Zimmer's anger at the special teams coordinator on the Cordarrelle Patterson kick return touchdown in terms of the type of blowouts that you see on a sideline between a coach and a coordinator?
I feel like it had the potential to get Gilbride, Buddy Ryan, but
that was the one, yeah.
But it didn't quite escalate into fisticuffs. But he wanted to kill him.
That is all over SportsCenter today. If there are no masks, that is the lead on SportsCenter. If there are no masks,
yeah,
that's true.
But you can't tell how angry. I mean, you can see it, but I mean, yeah. But then they made a play on special teams, and their special teams coordinator went running down the sideline past Zimmer and said something. I'm like, oh, that's helpful.
Yeah.
I mean, you had the guy trying to walk away from him, Zimmer having none of it. Very demonstrative. Very demonstrative. Yeah. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was great. One other thing, by the way, speaking of this, just a quick aside. Gibby mentioned the lead on SportsCenter. So usually in the morning I do a little bit of treadmill or whatever, and I had the SportsCenter on this morning, and they spent the first 6 minutes on this James Harden thing, and I just think I understand why they do it. That's their biggest, most lucrative partnership is with that league, but I just think the idea that people care about that could not have been further from the truth. That there are a very small segment, and I think that league, guys, and I'm thankful that we're not doing some NBA team daily. That league's got some problems.
It's huge problems.
Because you cannot be what Houston has done for James Harden, acquiesce to everything, every ounce of his style of play. The way he plays is so specific and frankly not fun for teammates, and they've acquiesced to all of it. And then he says, "No, I'm out.
I'm out. $50 million. No thanks."
And he's under contract, and he's trying to engineer a trade to Brooklyn. I hope it happens, just because I would love to see that just blow up.
That's going to be a
with
disaster.
The three of them. Disastrous, absolutely disastrous. But you think about how lucky you are in the NFL, where everything that this league does is to have everybody go 8-8. Everything it does is parity. And you think about that league and how many teams matter, and basically the AAUification of it. It's a tough spot, man. Tough spot.
Why do you think they didn't rein that in?
Well, I think LeBron, for all of his incredibly positive things that he has brought to the league and everything he's done outside of it, I think the player empowerment, and they all acquiesce to play. It's one thing if you're him, right? It's one thing if you're him, where you absolutely shift the balance of power in the league. Most of these guys, the rest of them aren't him, and they don't shift the balance of power. He shifts the balance of power. Durant shifts the balance of power. There's 2 or 3 guys, but the league treats 20 guys that way.
See, I almost think there should be a limit on how many non-homegrown max contract players you can have. Because, for example, the Warriors, people were mad at the Warriors, but the Warriors dynasty was truly built by them. They drafted Curry, they drafted Clay, they drafted Draymond. Good job out of them. So then they bring in one extra guy just at the end, which was Durant. But you think about Miami's super team, they had Wade, but they bring Bosh in, they brought LeBron in. This Nets team was going to be all totally brought in. See, to me, if one of these guys went to, and same with the Lakers, that's all brought in.
All brought in.
If the Bucks, for example, who have Middleton homegrown, Giannis homegrown, brought in another superstar to make them a super team, I have no problem with that. Because you at least did something organizationally
you did one thing right.
You drafted very well and set your foundation. So
I like that.
I think there's something, and now people will move. Oh, I won't take I'll take $1 less than whatever it is. But there's got to be some type of reward for drafting talent properly versus just going out and acquiring it all. Even when Kawhi was the star of Toronto, but Siakam and Lowry were Toronto guys.
Right.
To me there has
well, and even when
there's got to be some of that.
What they need to do is, first and foremost, they need a hard salary cap. You can go over and just pay a luxury tax. And the luxury tax could be millions, and that helped us win a championship. Gilbert wasn't afraid to pay over. Yeah. But make it a hard cap, because then, okay, you're looking at guys and you're going, well, I got 3 guys here, but then I got I got a max, I've got a mid-level exception, I've got this. Like, whatever the dollar amount is, that count, like, you reach a hard cap. Like, shut it off. And then that's
Can't
what
go
you
over
get.
that, Yeah, it's a tough spot. It is a tough spot. Also a tough spot for anything, and speaking of sports in a tough spot, you saw the Masters ratings, the lowest since 1957, and we're down 57% from last year with Tiger. They joined the World Series, the NBA Finals, the Triple Crown, the U.S. Open, Stanley Cup, everything down to their lowest ratings of all time. I just think it's muscle memory mostly. Like, we're just not used to watching these sports, and we're not used to these sports having to compete with the NFL, and you just can't compete with the NFL.
Correct. It's just, again, right. I think a lot of it, as you said, timing related, when you're used to doing things, when you're used to watching these, when the Masters is supposed to be, all of that. So it's very... Yeah, it's tough. And then, like I said, if they could have made that a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday event, I bet their Saturday ratings would have been much better than what happened on Sunday. And they tried to tried to go early. They tried to get it out of the way, but there also wasn't any drama. The drama happened early.
No,
it got to
lead,
1.
Yeah.
It got to 1, and then it ended up going out to 5.
Yeah, so. Cleveland Browns Daily brought to you by our great friends at Snapple, the official tea and juice drink of the Cleveland Browns on game day. Make sure you head to your nearest Discount Drug Mart location before kickoff to load up on your favorite Snapple flavors. Coming up next, what did we miss offensively? You have that to look forward to, which is nice. Off and running here on a Tuesday. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. And Beau here for my great friends at Raising Cane's, bringing more delicious hand-battered, cooked-ordered chicken fingers, cane sauce, crispy crinkle-cut fries, coleslaw, buttery Texas toast, sweet tea, lemonade. It's all coming near you. New location coming, Middleburg Heights. It's opening soon. Raising Cane's, your home for the game day goods. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, proud sponsor of the Ohio High School Association and Ohio State Athletics. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, one love. All right, this is where we usually on a Tuesday take a look at what we may have missed. It's like drinking out of a fire hose sometimes on a Monday when we try to think about things and see what is the first thing that comes up to you and you think, I wish we would have talked about this offensively on Monday.
Well, just in some ways, it was the weather that dictated the game. And, yes, we talked about, the run game, and we talked about Wyatt Teller. I also want to talk about the fact that we were 6 of 12 on third downs as an offense. We had some huge third down conversions. Austin Hooper, again, doesn't get a lot of run per se in the box score. And I actually did an event with him last night and got to talk to him about that. And he said, you know what, I'm just here to win. I used to be a route running receiver, get 8 to 10 targets a game, and now I'm more of a blocking tight end. But when I get my opportunities, I make the most of it. He had a critical third down conversion in this game. And so Austin Hooper, I don't think we talked about enough what he meant coming back. Not only what he does as a blocker is huge, his reliability on a third down is big. As I said, 6 of 12 on third downs. That's a great number for the Cleveland Browns, and it's not something that we talked about much. The Browns outpossessed the Texans. It's something we wanted to go into the game doing, but we didn't talk about the finale of it, by 7 minutes.
Yeah.
By half a quarter, 33-20 to 26-40. So that is great. You outgained the Texans by over 100 yards. You averaged 6 yards a play, which is incredibly efficient. So the story is the ground game, right? 231 yards rushing, 5.6 yards per carry, 230 for Chubb and Hunt combined, both over 100. But it was your third down plays that you made when you really needed to. It was your ability to pass to get some passing first downs in these bad weather, especially when you need that 3rd and 21 to Hollywood Higgins was tremendous. And you didn't turn the football over. 1 sack, no turnovers. You played a fairly clean game. And that's really what it had to be offensively. You had the one kind of mishap on the snap, but other than that, you executed pretty well. You want to clean up maybe some of the penalties. I didn't like some of the penalties that we had offensively. But for the most part, it wasn't pretty. It was nothing fancy. It was what it needed to be, just clean and efficient.
Yeah, I thought Harrison Bryant had some monster blocks as well in the game. Our tight end position really blocked it incredibly well. Let me ask you a question, because we've had to play 2 straight games. So we had Raiders game, bye week, this game. And so we've basically had 3 weeks, and one of course, was a bye, where we've had to deal with elements. We've had games where we've got behind early and had to chase. If you had to pick, and maybe we'll ask Coach Stefanski when we have it on the Coach Stefanski show later on this week, and I don't know if he'd give you a straight answer, but what do you think he would say, or what do you regard as this offense at its peak so far this season, doing exactly what Kevin Stefanski wanted it to be?
This offense at its peak, which game would you say?
Yeah, which is the game when you think at and go, that's exactly how we want to go about our business? Because we had some of that against Indy. We had some of it against Dallas. Dallas is the one?
Because you had in the Dallas game, you had complete efficiency from your offense. Running was efficient. Throwing was efficient. Baker didn't turn the ball over in that game. From an offensive standpoint, that was really just as good as it got that game, because you had, as I said, you ran for over 300 yards. You did whatever you wanted on the ground, but you had Baker, 19 of 30, 165, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, quarterback rating of 100, juice through the touchdown in there. You had a trick play. You had 3 different ball carriers running for more than 70 yards. Your top 4 rushers all averaged 6 yards a carry or more. You had shot plays. You had red zone plays. You had chain moving plays. You had everything that this offense is supposed to be in one game.
And I think when you add, because when you said 165 for Baker, you add the shot play from Landry to Beckham.
Of course, you're 200 passing, right.
So there you go, yeah. So the breakdown then is, what, because I just remember this from, for example, in college, I realized the yardage is much easier to come by, but Urban, when he was at Ohio State, always wanted 250. Like that was where he wanted that split
Sure.
to be, is 250, and didn't have to. That's obviously perfectly balanced. And so I just was curious because we have this bye week and we self-scouted, but we weren't able to give. You weren't able to really see what the work went in on because of the way we had to play.
Correct.
Now we saw some schematic differences, but because of the way we had to play, it was hard. And the same thing was true of the game before. So we really haven't seen. And the Bengals game became a sprint, right? It's a relentless comeback sprint. So that wasn't really it as well. So when you get to dictate, and the Colts through 3 quarters, was it the fourth quarter that got a little dicey with the Colts?
It was the first half was really good, and then
first half
we kind of put the brakes on,
Sputtered.
unfortunately.
Yeah, and then Dallas was kind of the full game, and I don't know if you're going to get it this week. If the wind blows again, you might not get it again this week. Theoretically, in Jacksonville, like very curious to see what this looks like. It's hard to judge, guys, because of what we've seen from a condition standpoint the last 2 times out. Are you a sports fan looking for a part-time weekend job? Get into the action at First Energy Stadium, home of your Cleveland Browns. Wes is now hiring for part-time event staff and security. You can apply online at weshiring.com. Coming up next, we go around the league. One take, one game. Both of us, big fun coming your way next.
Yes.
You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Are you on the injured list? We can help you get back in the game. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO for a free case review. Elk & Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Let's go around the league as we like to do every single Tuesday with Gibbe. One take each game around the league. How are you, Gibbe?
Good.
Gibbe.
Good. Minus the snow. Doing great. Couldn't be better.
Yeah.
Not afraid of the snow,
It's
Gibbe.
just I like it too.
I'm not afraid of it. I just don't like it, and I certainly don't like it before Thanksgiving. I don't need this.
Yeah.
I think this sets an ugly picture of what's to come if it's already snowing in the middle of November.
Didn't the Farmer's Almanac say that we're headed for pure hell?
Yeah.
Oh.
Winter's coming.
Yeah.
But I
That'd be
wonder how
great.
accurate that almanac is. Is that almanac accurate?
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
don't know.
people cite it all the time.
I'd like to know.
But how's the prognostic? It's not like us with the scores where we keep track. Like, are people keeping track?
Right.
Be a great question. Like, and if you were going for your master's in something, like in statistics,
Yeah.
like keeping track of that, like that's something that I want to know about.
Somebody do it.
I'd be very
90%
curious
of
to
those
know. We
master's
should give 'em-
theses, I don't care to know anything about what you're doing.
Yeah. That's right.
It's dumb
I
stuff.
like that. I'd be very curious for someone to track the Farmer's Almanac to see how accurate it is.
Yeah. I like that. That's not too shabby. All right. You know the rule here. One take from each of the following games. We're going down the Sunday ones. You guys already talked about the Monday. We talked about Thursday.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to go through Thursday again, I can take another victory lap around if you'd like. But in the meantime, let's go to the Sunday games, and we'll start with the team that we are going to face this coming Sunday. The Eagles taking one on the chin to the New York Football Giants, 27-17. Beau, I'm going to start with you.
What a novel concept. I'm guessing Z
Just
will
this
comment
once.
on the Eagles offense. So I'm going to go with the Giants, and there may be a case to be. First of all, they're playing hard, but this may be a case to be made with giving a quarterback some time to develop, because Dan Dimes has played really well the last couple of weeks. He's been able to run it, been an incredible threat in the run game as well. And they look like they have something cooking there. They've been decimated by injuries. It's a young team. It felt like they were a team that were going to be the Trevor Lawrence, but they've played well the last couple of weeks, and Danny Dimes has shown a little bit of spunk for them the last couple of weeks. So that's a good job out of them. Maybe staying the course a little bit.
Zegura.
Yeah, the Giants looking good. By the way, Danny Dimes and Miles Sanders tied for the NFL lead, 2 rushes of more than 40 yards this year.
Right.
And they were in the same game. My take is, boy, this Eagles team has zero explosiveness in the passing game. Carson Wentz does not look good. He's taken the most sacks in the NFL. He's thrown the most interceptions in the NFL. And they're sitting on a running game. Miles Sanders in his last 3 games against the Giants, the Steelers, and the Ravens is averaging 6.6 yards per carry. Boston Scott last week rips off a long 56-yard touchdown run. They can run it, and yet they refuse to. So I think they're kind of a team that's lost their identity. They don't have one right now, and their quarterback is struggling.
That's an understatement. I would ask if they missed Nick Foles, but Nick Foles didn't exactly light the world on
There's
fire
something
last
wrong in Chicago, too. I mean, there's something.
There
They have, first of all, they can't run it. They have, outside of Allen Robinson, zero talent, despite using early picks on people. It's dreadful.
night. Yeah.
Can we just say one other thing, too? What is it that Nick Foles twice has been lights out in Philly and average anywhere else? Like this
and I think
happened
you're
with the
being kind
Rams.
with average.
Oh, average is kind. This happened with the Rams, the Chiefs, the Jaguars, and the Bears. 4 franchises have kicked the tires on him outside of Philly. Dreadful. Philly, extraordinary. It makes no sense.
I don't know.
Oh, my God. There's 1,000 Ravens outside of my house. I mean, 1,000 of them.
Oh,
Oh, my goodness.
Look at this.
what is going on?
It's the birds.
Bootsy, get the water
What's
balloons.
going on? Seriously.
Look at that.
Where are they
Because
going?
there's 1,000, right? Where are they coming from? Where are they going? They just keep coming in waves.
If the White Walkers start approaching your house, get out.
Not great, Bob.
Not great.
I don't like this. Sorry, boys.
By the way,
that was quite distracting.
I do believe the Eagles late yesterday did activate Zach Ertz off of that IR. So I think he will be back this week. That will be a big addition for them. We move on. Packers 24, Jaguars 20. A solid effort by the Jaguars trying to screw up the draft pick, but luckily, Green Bay remembered that they're the Packers. Zegura, we'll start with you.
Yeah, the Packers are an interesting team in that they blast some people. They got blasted by the Bucs, and they play kind of a competitive game. And you go on that Thursday night where they beat up on the Niners and they let them come back. It's almost like they're afraid. What is their identity? Devontae Adams might be the best receiver in football right now. Rodgers is playing great, but it seems like their ground game, sometimes it's Jamal Williams, sometimes it's Jones. They're not building any continuity there. I wonder if it's a lot like last year. Weren't they 13-3 last year? Where they're good, they're going to put up an excellent regular season record, but does anybody think this Packers team can actually do anything in the postseason?
Maybe because of
Rodgers is great,
Rodgers,
and Devontae's great.
But right, and just because the NFC is so uncertain, I really don't know what to make of the NFC. I'll flip this to the Jaguars side. I'll just tell you one thing, that week in, week out, they play really hard. And the Robinson guy is the poster child for why you don't need to draft a running back in the first round and you don't need to pay a running back, because he's been great. They've got some nice weapons on the outside. If that's where Justin Fields ends up, it's not a bad place to be.
It's a good situation for him.
I think it's a pretty good spot for him if they end up picking number 2 and taking Justin Fields.
Yeah, but beware. I mean, that should have been a warning to teams that are going to play Jacksonville maybe in about a week and a half. Our team,
they play hard.
They play everybody tough.
Yeah,
they do.
We've not done well in that stadium.
Listen,
I hate going there. We do not play well there.
They lost by 3 to the Titans. They beat the Colts, lost by 3 to the Titans. Then they went in a little bit of a tailspin. They got blasted by the Dolphins on Thursday night, lost by 8 to the Bengals, got blasted by the Texans, blasted by the Lions, hung with the Chargers for the majority of that game, lost by 2 to the Texans, 4 to the Packers. Now they have the Steelers this week, and then us. They're not going to have a lot of wins, but they do play hard, and you got to make sure you're handling your business. I agree with that completely.
By the way, I'm going to throw it out there. I think the Vikings can catch the Packers. Their next 3 games,
4 and 5.
They play Dallas. They play Jacksonville. I can't remember who their game is next week, but winnable games puts them right back in it.
They have Dallas, Carolina, Jacksonville. Then their finish is kind of tough though. Bucks, Bears, Saints, Lions. So, but they could feasibly win 5 of their next 7 if they just kind of hold serve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up next, guys, the Lions withstanding a nice little comeback from Washington to win 30-27. Oh, Nathan is clamoring.
I'd like to go first on this one, and I will focus on the Lions.
Please.
I've been railing on DLD for weeks. We don't need to see the old guy. We don't need to see Kerryon Johnson. You drafted DeAndre Swift in the 2nd round because, well, he is Swift. He's a true dual-threat running back. And you waited until week 10. You said, oh, maybe Zegura and Bishop on DLD. Sometimes they call it DSD, DeAndre Swift Daily. Maybe we should listen to them here in the Motor City. Swift, career high in snaps, carries, touches, and what does he do? 16 for 81 on the ground, 5.1 yards a carry, 5 catches, 68 yards, and a touchdown receiving. Duh.
That actually led to some awkward moments between us and Adrian Peterson, because Peterson comes with us every Monday.
We love
joins
him,
the show.
but he knows.
We do, and he had to, and there was an awkward moment, but I think we're able to get past it this week and hopefully next as well, and everything will be okay. But those were some anxious moments. I would just say the fact that Alex Smith threw for 380 games in an NFL game.
390.
Within a 390, yeah. And did so with when there was, it wasn't long ago where you didn't know if he'd even have a leg, let alone walk. It's all just gravy for him at this point. And I would also say that every time I watch him take a hit, I squirm. I just am so worried for him. I can't imagine being his family, how much anxiety it would be watching him play football. But I was, and he let him down, and they tied the game. And Chase Young with just a bad roughing the passer that allowed the Lions to take the game winner. I think a 61-yarder to win it.
I don't know why the Lions are trying to save Matt Patricia's job. God love him, but I don't know why they're trying to.
I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the final scores for that one actually ended up at 2.5. Just an interesting.
I know, but we can't.
Not ours, but I'm just saying an interesting.
The
note.
final.
But that was a good one for you.
Yeah.
Up
It
next,
was, yeah.
Tampa Bay doubling up Carolina. Carolina now lost 5 in a row, 46-23, Bishop.
Carolina is the hardest team for me to sort out week in and week out when we do the scores. It's the hardest one for me to sort out. I thought, I know this was one that was positive for you. You had Tampa Bay responding big. But from Carolina's perspective, just week to week, they play hard, but then they get housed. It's hard to make sense of them. The other thing I would say, and I know you have many more thoughts on Tampa Bay, I think Tampa Bay's ceiling is the highest of any of the NFC teams, but their floor of the contenders is also the lowest, which is weird.
I think they're pretty good, and I think, sometimes they just have off days, but, Carolina.
Their off days are bad, though.
Carolina, this was 17-17 at the half. Carolina, they just run out of steam, and then defensively they're not good enough. Their offense, though, is not bad. But Brady, 341, 3 touchdowns. Jones runs for $192. Godwin, 6 catches. Evans, 6 catches and a touchdown. Brown, 7 catches. Gronk scores. Braid scores. They've got it all. I mean, they have got it all. And when they are protecting and wheeling and dealing, they are very, very tough. And I have a feeling that when you got Tom Brady there, the motivation's going to come in at the right time of the season. I feel like everybody's going to be ready to go when it matters.
Up next, guys, the Dolphins taking down the Chargers. Dolphins 3-0 with Tua as their quarterback. Not to say he's done a whole lot to be a part of that, but he hasn't screwed up. Let's put it that way. Dolphins beat the Chargers 29-21. Chargers coaching staff might want to start working on some resumes as well. Zegura, we'll start with you.
So there are 3 teams in the NFL. It's either that have lost, that have not been beaten by more than a touchdown. Actually, it's by more than, that have not been beaten by double digits this year. 3 teams in the league. It's the Steelers, who are undefeated. It's the Chiefs, who I believe have 1 loss, if I have that right. Is that right?
Yes.
The Chiefs, who have 1 loss. And the Chargers, who are 2-7.
Don't they have a better differential than we do?
What?
They have a better point differential than we do, I think.
Yeah, their point differential is -19. Ours is -28.
Yeah.
That's all right. -22. 28. I was right. They are a competitive team. This Dolphins team is just finding ways to win. And here's an interesting one, and this is the takeaway. It's their defense. It is the least talked about best defense in the NFL. They've given up 182 points this year. The Ravens 165, the Steelers 171, the Colts 177. And those are the teams that are being talked about as having the best defenses in the NFL. Rams 168. They're right there. It's their defense that has been so good this year.
Daniel Jeremiah, first of all, the Chargers just stink. Like, at some point, you just stink. If you can't ever win a game, you stink.
Agreed.
And that's just where they are. Like, I can't explain it. They just stink. They can't close. They can't win games. And this one was a little closer, actually. Wasn't as close as the final score would lead you to believe. Miami's defense as a whole is what Myles Garrett is as an individual. Every game, they get a game-wrecking play where it's either a pick, a scoop sack fumble, strip sack fumble return for they just consistently – they did something, and Daniel Jeremiah did a great job of this today on Twitter, where they, on 3rd down, gave Justin Herbert an amoeba look on 3 consecutive 3rd downs that fooled him incredibly. So what they did was they put 8 guys in the box, everybody standing up. And Herbert didn't know who was coming and who was going. We've seen New England do this, and he was fooled 3 straight times on it. Now, obviously, that's not your base, and you have to be able to at least run 3 things off of it to be able to install it, so they do. They are as creative defensively as anybody in the league. They're going to be a tough out.
And they're running offensively a 2 tight end set basically the whole time now and just kind of pounding teams down and using that play action, the tight ends, getting them involved, and they've had a lot of success with it.
All right, guys, up next, Raiders taking out Denver. Denver, injury-prone, injuries galore, a shell of themselves. Raiders take them down. Raiders now 6-3, 37-12, Beau Bishop.
Enjoy it now, John Gruden. Enjoy it now. And he should enjoy it because they've played well. They beat us. They beat the Broncos. They're 6-3. It's a nice run for them. Beat the Chiefs as well. But that's the one why I say enjoy it now. Did you see what came to light this week with John Gruden? So, apparently, there was a bus driver in Kansas City who was talking smack to Gruden before they played at Kansas City. So, after the game, Gruden orders the buses to do circles around Arrowhead Stadium.
Beeping the horns.
Beeping the horns. Guess who became aware of it? The Kansas City Chiefs.
That's
Guess who's coming off a bye week? The Kansas City Chiefs. Guess where this one's going to be played? Climate control.
Vegas.
Whatever it is, whatever the number is. Chiefs, $1 billion.
The Raiders are good. They are.
They are.
The Chiefs are going to take it to them. But Jacobs, 2 games in a row where he's rushed well, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns this week. They got 16 for 81 and 2 scores from former Bronco Devontae Booker. They actually did this one running it. And the other thing is, boy, if you're Denver, and listen, a little birdie whose initials are BA has posited that he thinks Sam Darnold will be the next quarterback of the Denver Broncos. He was John Elway's number 1 player on his board that draft. You put Sam Darnold in there, give him a clean slate. You get Cortland Sutton, Jerry
coach.
Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Noah Fant. All of a sudden, Sam Darnold,
Get the right coach.
He gets an opportunity to say, this is who I am. The experiment that's over for me is the Drew Lock experiment. I remember in the preseason trying to tell you. I was trying to tell everybody, boy, Drew Lock, I'm not so sure I'm buying it. He looked pretty good in Missouri when he's got a clean pocket, but his pressure, not good. Guess what? That translates to the National Football League. Not good. Not good at all.
I think you also brought up the point that his teammates don't ever celebrate with him and don't like him, it appears.
Yeah. Nobody wasn't invited to any birthday parties.
No birthday parties.
Sorry, buddy. Just keep celebrating.
Then you told me how your lady had a cameo in draft day.
That's right. It all comes full circle.
Full circle.
Up next, Arizona 32, Buffalo 30. Who wants to go first here? Because I forgot. I think it's Zegura's up.
First of all, the Bills are a good football team. Josh Allen, this is one he said, can they play from behind? Yep, certainly they came back. He got the game-winning touchdown. They didn't get the job done, and that's one of those, as you said, primetime. Knock it down. Unbelievable.
Knock it down.
These are 2 of the bright young quarterbacks in the league. Of course, Allen, is he going to make some plays that make you go, scratch your head? Yes, but you take that. There's a lot more good than there is the bad. The things you knew about him coming out, the inaccuracy, that's still there. Some of the poor decision-making, still there. The unbelievable throws, though, there. Getting Stephon Diggs, tremendous. And I don't think we realized, or maybe I didn't. I'll say I didn't realize the impact that he would have as a runner in the NFL.
No.
That is critical to his success and what makes that thing work. These are 2. The Bills, I still think you play this game 100 times, the Bills are going to win 60 of them.
This was a fun game.
Fun.
And all the attention to Kyler and the way how just elusive he is and how quickly he can go down the field and his ability. He's a nightmare. He's the biggest problem in the NFL right now in a 2-minute situation because of how quick he is, how fast he gets down, how quickly he can get out of bounds. I mean, he's just a real problem. But I'm with you. The big headline here is Buffalo. This was impressive. They've been impressive 3 straight weeks. He can throw it with anybody. Diggs leads the NFL in receiving. It's been incredible. Buffalo is a team to be reckoned with now and in the future.
Up next, guys, Saints 27, 49ers 13. Can we talk about Drew Brees for a minute? Because this happened after we went off the air. But, whoa, my goodness. But he'll be back in 2 weeks. Okay.
Right. Well, he won't be.
No.
2 or 3 weeks is most optimistic, as our boy Graziano was reporting this morning on ESPN. Cracked ribs, collapsed lung, going to be a while. Here's what was several things are amazing, but what struck me about this is as I was watching this game, he did not ever leave the sideline. He did not ever unbuckle his chin strap. He would stare with his helmet, stare at what the Saints were doing offensively as if he was playing. It was an incredible thing to witness. And then he just shuddered, I think, at what Winston was doing because it was bad. Bad.
Yeah, it was.
Do look forward to Jameis this week with a full week, though.
Yes, I want to see that. The other thing, and I wanted to ask you about this. What's going on with Michael Thomas?
Well, so now to be fair, I picked this one up as Winston was in. So Winston just airmailed it to him several times. So I did not see much of when Breeze was in here. I saw the back end of this game. I did not see much of when Breeze was in.
He played 2 full games with Breeze, 3 catches, 17 yards, 5 catches, 51 yards, 2 catches, 27 yards in this one against the 49ers. Look, Jameis gets his guys' numbers. I mean, go ahead and ask Rashad Perriman's accountant how much money he has made. Mike Evans last year. They were all of them. Godwin, all of them. Tremendous numbers. So I think that will help. But That's a little bit of an interesting story, and you wonder now, with somebody who can throw the ball down the field with a full week to incorporate what he does well into this game plan, do the Saints become explosive again? Because right now their offense is based on 1-yard passes to Alvin Kamara. You've got now a quarterback who can throw it to Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, and Jared Cook.
Yeah.
They could be interesting.
Could be.
I'm buy low right now on Michael Thomas in fantasy football. His owner's probably very disgruntled. Go ahead and knock on that door.
I like that. I like that strategy.
All right, real quick. We got 3 games and about 2 minutes to get through them all. Rams, Seahawks. Rams knocking off the Seahawks 23-16. Trouble in the Great Northwest, gentlemen?
I don't think so. I think they have a problem. They have a fatal flaw, and it is as great as Russ is. When the other team knows that you are one-dimensional, they know that you can't stop them when they have the ball. It's hard to be perfect every game. And I think Russ has done it at a very high level, but at some point you got to pay the piper, and I think it's just coming to roost. All along I thought that they were an overranked team in terms of, when they were, they're number 2 in the power, they're number 3. I never bought it because they're not a football team. They are a great quarterback with 2 great receivers, but that's it.
Well, they don't have their backs. They haven't had backs for a couple of weeks. Carson's been in and out. That's a big problem. They don't have any real threat to run it. So that's a big problem. Jamal Adams has been a superstar. I mean, he's unbelievable. He gets 2 sacks a game. He's been unbelievable
bad
for them.
In coverage,
the one thing I would say is, he is, but they play him near the line of scrimmage a lot. I think you have to start wondering at the Rams when the script, if they can dictate script, they're a really tough team because Ramsey's unbelievable at corner. And Aaron Donald and the rest of those guys get after it up front. So that is, if they can play from ahead, they could be a good team in the NFC to keep your eye on.
All right.
Agreed.
Up next, Steelers 36, Bengals 10. Yeesh.
Surprising.
Welcome to the Pittsburgh game, Joe Burrow. This was Mike Tomlin saying what happened against Dallas, we're not having it, and their defense just battered him. He had no chance in this game.
None. And the Steelers, I think, are as dangerous as it gets throwing the football. Ben is good. That trio now of Deontay Johnson, of Claypool, and Juju is good. Really good.
Really good.
Final one, guys. Patriots 23, Ravens 17. Not the Ravens outside of Beau Bishop's house. The Ravens on the football field.
No.
The Ravens' offense is broken. I think it's the story of the year. I think I agree. That's really something that everybody is locked in on. And you'd say, well, Lamar threw it for 249 and 2 touchdowns. They ran it for 115. Lamar averaged 5 yards a carry. Gus Edwards, 6. Dobbins, I think, has ended up being a huge disappointment. Mark Ingram last year was like over 1,000 yards, caught it, double-digit touchdowns. He hasn't done anything. And how about Hollywood Brown completely disappearing from their offense? It's kind of stunning.
They got big problems, and I'm almost to the point where when you think of the logjam in the AFC, are we sure they're one of the playoff teams, the way they're playing?
And
they have a tough schedule.
We got to beat them. Monday Night Football. That's a big game.
Yeah, because it's a very, very big game. But yeah, they're trending in the wrong direction and have for a while. By the way, good job out of Belichick when you think what he's done with some of the elite quarterbacks with just a ragtag bunch of really holding them all down. Did that to Mahomes as well. Brilliant Electric Sign Company, Northeast Ohio's largest full-service sign company, serving their clients for over 91 years. Contact the experts at Brilliant Electric Sign to provide you a state-of-the-art signage solution that's going to grow your business. Visit them at brilliantsign.com. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. If you live and breathe football, you know sometimes keeping your priorities straight can be a challenge. Unfortunately, the same can be true when you gamble. If you find that your gambling is affecting other parts of your life, we can help. Get tips on reasonable gambling at keepitfunohio.com. Governor DeWine addressing the state at the moment. Looks like a slowdown of some sort, and once we have some of that, we'll keep you guys updated on that. But
well, what he said, one thing.
Not good.
Not great. Hospitalizations. On October 13th, there were 1,000 hospitalizations. On November 5th, which is, 3 weeks later, 2,000, so it doubled. On November 12th, 3,000. Today, we're already approaching 4,000 hospitalizations. So we are in a bad way with this curve. The good news, the vaccine is coming, but that vaccine is not going to be here until, at least earliest would be first quarter 2021. So we still have a lot to work through here.
Yeah. So as those details become available of what the governor says, we will get that to you as well. Time for Ohio Lottery. Keep it fun, Ohio segment. And this we were thinking about this. The NBA draft is tomorrow night at 8, I believe. I said that relatively emphatically. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. So you'll have that. It's an NBA draft where there is no. There's no Zion. It's, it reminds me a lot of the Anthony Bennett draft where seems like there's just a bunch of dudes. But wasn't Giannis in that draft? In the Bennett draft?
I hope not. I don't remember well enough.
Was that 2013 or 14?
Yeah. Bennett was 13, wasn't he? I don't know. He was. I remember people passed on him. He may not have been in the Bennett draft, but the Bennett draft was
Giannis
one where
wasn't taken until pick number 15.
What year?
I'm looking it up right now.
2013. That's true. Okay. So, and was that the year Bennett went 1?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. That would have changed the trajectory of things, wouldn't it?
Boy.
Yeah, Giannis went 15. So there's a fascinating podcast right now for those that are big podcasts. The Woj, host of the Woj Bombs on Twitter and the best NFL or NBA insider. He has a 3-part podcast about that whole draft and going into it. And he sits down with Giannis. He sits down with the Bucks. He sits down with other teams that passed on him and why they passed on him. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I bet that would be.
He did his homework. They said it was like a 3-month project, and it's
rare that somebody like that gets missed in that sport. Usually, superstars are identified and picked accordingly. It's rare. There are every once in a while, there's a Sam Bowie over Jordan, but he was an All-American at Kentucky and a big. So now we look back on it and say that's crazy. The same would be true of Greg Oden, who went ahead of Durant, but people thought Greg Oden was going to be Bill Russell.
Yep.
So there were, it's usually in that sport you identify. It's much easier in that sport, it seems, to identify good to great players than it is in some of the other sports.
These are the guys that were taken in front of Giannis. Anthony Bennett, Victor Oladipo.
Who's been a solid pro.
Yep. Otto Porter Jr., Cody Zeller, Alex Len, Nerlens Noel, Ben McLemore, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Trey Burke, C.J. McCollum, Michael Carter-Williams, Steven Adams, Kelly Olynyk, Shabazz Muhammad.
I still thought McLemore coming out of Kansas was going to be good. I thought his game was a natural transition to the NBA, and he just never
I think he's a can't get right.
Yeah.
Yeah. From what you hear, I think he's a can't get right. But it did get us thinking because the NBA has such drama around their draft lottery. The NHL does too now, where there are these generational players who come in the NHL, McDavid, Crosby, these guys, and there's this huge amp up. And we have a generational player coming this year into the NFL in Trevor Lawrence. And maybe Justin Fields is that too if he continues to complete 87% of his passes at Ohio State. And you wondered, as very clearly the Jets are playing the tank game, we were wondering if the NFL would benefit from a lottery. And I guess I would just flip that and say, what would the harm be?
Where would you cut it off? I don't know that in the NFL you can open up a lottery to more than half of your football teams. I don't think the team that just misses the playoffs should be eligible for the lottery. So I almost think you have to cut it off at 8,
10,
or 10. But there must be a cutoff.
Yeah, and I mean it's exponentially harder as your record is better.
Sure, but
you've never had a. Yeah, I think you've only had one situation in the NBA where a team, and it was the Shaquille O'Neal draft, where they landed the rights, and they ended up taking Chris Webber and trading him for Penny Hardaway, and they were like 41-41. I think that's the only time where a team that just missed the playoffs picked number one overall. It doesn't
just
happen
in football,
very often.
it should never happen.
No, but I would be for an 8 or 10 team lottery. That would add a little juice. One more thing in the offseason you could put on NFL Network they would love it, and there'd be tremendous drama around it. Even when there isn't a Trevor Lawrence, there'd be tremendous drama around who would pick number one.
Always.
Yeah.
It would be so. Think about the drama though that would be around when you've traded for another team's pick and you're holding their pick.
Yeah.
And what that could be. So yes, it would add a lot more drama to it. I wonder if the league would worry about week 16, 17 if you're sitting in 10th. Are you not even attempting to win your final? That's the NFL with so few games is always so worried about the competitive balance. And that if a lottery system will lend itself, certainly it disincentivizes complete taking, but you want to be in the lottery. If you're not making the playoffs, there's no reason to not make the playoffs and not be in the lottery.
Well, in that sense, then you would have to keep it you'd have to keep it open to everybody who didn't make the playoffs and just make the percentage chances, infinite, the smallest for those who just miss it. I mean,
if you have a ball in there, all it takes is that one ball. Like, it would be crazy if
it does.
For example, especially in the old playoff format. So this year you could have a team that goes 10-6, miss the playoffs, and then end up with the number one pick. Like, that seems crazy. Although it would create some drama in the sense that if that did happen, it's probably a team with an established quarterback. Then what do they do?
Yeah.
Let's say the Ravens missed the playoffs and got the number one pick. But then the Ravens are going to trade it for a king's ransom, or they're going to trade Lamar Jackson.
Well, but I don't know that that's a problem. Like, the way that it's worked hasn't exactly been foolproof, and we're a great example of that. We've picked near the top a lot in 20 years, and you don't always hit on these. Not everybody. This is a Trevor Lawrence draft, and so that's different because everybody feels like he's going to be Andrew Luck. But think about all the guys who have been taken at look at Jameis and Mariota. Like, you would have thought the rights to draft Jameis Winston, but what does that mean, really? What does Marcus Mariota mean, really? Like,
sure.
It's just there's so much uncertainty. I think when you think about it at the highest level, what you just described this year with Lawrence would obviously you would want no part of. For example, I mean, even the league would not want somebody like us if we just missed the playoffs at 10-6 getting Trevor Lawrence or the ability to draft Trevor Lawrence and trade those picks or trade Baker or whatever. Like, you wouldn't want that in the league. But I think it's such a rare occurrence that it would add great drama around. I just don't know that the negative is that big to outweigh it.
It would definitely add drama. It would add a whole new layer to things because. The other question I would have for you is, and I don't know if the NBA works this way as well. You could correct me because I don't know the answer. But in a 7-round draft, would the lottery portion apply only to the first round and then the second round?
Only to the lottery.
Only to the
first round.
That's how it would have to be.
And then it would revert back to
what it was.
What the records dictated that it was. Yeah.
I'm for. I mean, look,
NFL
Network wants more. They all want more programming. Of course, it would be incredibly dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would. Actually, what you're just describing just happened, and I realize it's not one of the primary sports in North America like it used to be, just happened in hockey, where the New York Rangers just missed the postseason. They just got Artemi Panarin for the Blue Jackets. They got studs, and they won the draft lottery, and there's one great player in this draft, and they pick him. So it just happened in the NHL, where a team that just missed it won it. In the meantime, the Detroit Red Wings won like 7 games all year and are picking 4th. So it does happen every once in a while. But it does prevent, I think, the full-on tank. It's going to prevent that because the payoff just isn't there.
Right.
If you can't, because what's going on in New York right now, I mean, it's smart. They're going to have a chance to draft him. So
book it right now. You can say you heard on Browns Daily first. Trevor Lawrence, Week 1 starting quarterback for the Jets. Sam Darnold, Week 1 starting quarterback for the Broncos. Let's get a Jets-Broncos. What part of the Monday night doubleheader next year?
Oh, it'll be the late game out in Denver.
Yeah.
That's a 10 o'clock start on Monday night.
That'd be great, though. That'd be a fun one.
It'd be fun. It would be fun, yeah. All right, so we'll put that up on the poll. Go ahead, Gibby.
We do have news coming in from the governor. Per Governor DeWine, this is just minutes ago, we are issuing a curfew in Ohio that will start Thursday. This will run from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. for 21 days. We believe this will help reduce the COVID spread. I'm also asking each Ohioan each day to do at least one thing that reduces your contact with others. So we are
okay. Well, that's a pretty.
Curfew.
That seems quite reasonable.
Yeah.
Considering where we are, 10 o'clock at night.
I mean,
Jim Tressel always used to say, nothing good happens after 10 o'clock.
I thrive after 10 o'clock, but
exactly.
I know you do.
Exactly.
Just do some of the privacy of your own home now, Gibby.
Don't worry about that. I do that too.
So we'll get that up on the poll, and we'll have the update for you at the end if you're in favor of a lottery or not. And that is, of course, brought to you by Ohio Lottery. KeepItFunOhio.com. Coming up next, what do we miss from our defense? Bottom of the hour, higher or lower? You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily.
Better or worse?
ESPN Cleveland. Talk about your kitchen remodel. Believe it or not, it's a great time to remodel your kitchen. Unless you've done it recently, your kitchen is probably outdated. You might think a new, modern, high-quality kitchen is out of your price range. Well, at Northeast, you get that high-quality cabinet for about 60 to 70% less. All of the upgrades, solid wood, full extension drawer glides, cushioned closed drawers and doors, it's all standard. It's really simple. Make an appointment. Bring in some basic measurements, and one of the kitchen designers will walk you through the process on an interactive big screen. The appointment and design are free. How about that? And there's no obligation. They'll let you take it with you. 0% financing is available. Go to northeastfactorydirect.com or visit them at West 140th Street in Cleveland, Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, or Freeway Drive in Macedonia for that. All right, what do we miss on the defensive side of the ball, Z?
We missed the Browns' defense that really got a good game from the defensive line as a whole. And we focus so much on Myles Garrett and how great he is. And, boy, he was great. But Larry Ogunjobi got to the quarterback again. You talk about Sheldon Richardson getting a sack, having a couple tackles for loss in this game. Olivier Vernon, multiple pressures. So it was a defensive performance up front that was as close to what we had been hoping to see, I think, from this defense all year long. You bottled up their ground game. You did a good job containing Deshaun Watson. 13 pressures were generated, 2 by Sheldon. You had multiple pressures from Sheldon, Myles Garrett, Larry Ogunjobi, and Olivier Vernon. All of the guys up front did it. You had Ronnie Harrison doing a great job as a blitzer at safety. I think we've talked about him, but I think it goes without saying again, he's a star. The Browns have a star on the back end of their defense in Ronnie Harrison. He's playing at a level where it would not surprise me at all when Gribbs joins us at the bottom of the hour that he's like, put that guy on the 40-year team right now.
Oh, yeah.
I've
Gribbs
seen
is
enough.
always quick with that, too.
He is.
Yeah, he's quick with anointing safeties. So,
might be premature, so I could see it. Maybe we'll ask him about that during Better or Worse right now, coming up at the bottom of the hour. But to me, it was really up front, you got what you wanted. I thought you saw your linebackers flying around. B.J. Goodson flew around. Mac Wilson was flying around. Malcolm Smith, who played 27 snaps, I thought played a nice game. You had a nice little rotation in that linebacking group. Goodson was on the field, though, for every single snap, 57 of them this game. So clearly he separated himself. 31 snaps for Mac Wilson, and you had Malcolm Smith at 27, Taki with 17. But I think the big story was the guys up front, your corners. I did a solid job. And then, again, Harrison is just becoming an absolute playmaker for your football team.
Yeah, and look, this Eagles team is not one that is dangerous through the air, and we'll get into some of that matchup when we turn the page to them tomorrow. After that, Jacksonville, they're pretty spirited on the outside.
Yeah.
With Shark and Chenault. Like, they're pretty spirited out there, and they will throw it around, and then it's Tennessee after that. So it's so difficult. And, again, this mirrors the question we talked about early in the show, talking about the offense, just because the last 2 times we've played, the conditions have been so poor that it's hard to see, what changes were made from the first half. We knew some adjustments needed to be made in the back end of our defense, but you say to yourself, well, Deshaun Watson couldn't throw the ball. I mean, there's nothing you could do, so it's hard to know. You think about that we were really done a favor there because that was one of the most prolific passing offenses in football, and it couldn't even get off the ground because of the wind and the conditions. And so you won't know what this pass defense is going to look like, maybe Tennessee. So not to take away from the fact that both Philly and Jacksonville can beat you playing the right way, playing hard. Anything can happen. It's the National Football League. I agree with what Tomlin said today. It's not like this is the MAC, the Big Ten team playing a MAC. When we play, like he's talking about playing Jacksonville this week, and they asked him, do you worried about looking ahead? He goes, look,
no.
We're not a Big Ten team playing the MAC. This is the NFL.
Right.
Like, everyone's going to play hard, and they will play hard. But it is hard to see what adjustments were made because of the conditions.
That is very true, and maybe this weekend in Jacksonville would be good kind of launching points, and then you got to get ready for a very good Tennessee team and followed by a Baltimore offense that hasn't looked great other than against you early in the season. I think you're right. We don't know, but one thing I did see, and I don't know if this stuck out to you watching on the TV, it felt like we tackled better. We had a few missed tackles here and there, but I thought we made a lot of really good open field tackles. Harrison, Money Mitch had some good open field tackles. Goodson had some nice tackles in the open field. I thought we did a very good job of tackling in this game, and if we could just tackle, that will help as well.
Agreed. I think that it was probably was it Mac Wilson's best game? Did he seem the most comfortable out there? It seemed like it to me.
Yes, he didn't have his brace on. Felt like he was faster. Felt like he was flying around more, as I said. He played 31 snaps, which was the second most among all linebackers in this one. And as we kind of go through and look at his season, he's starting to play more and more snaps as the season goes on. And this was probably now that he's kind of been back playing in that 30-snap range, this was probably his most productive game of the year in terms of, tackles, being there, not missing tackles, being a force near the line of scrimmage. I thought this was a much better game from Mack. And yes, there still is a long way to go. Our linebacking core and certainly that free safety spot. I think there's a long way to go there with that free safety spot with Sendejo and Sheldrick getting some run there. You know, what's interesting, and another thing we didn't talk about, is Carl Joseph nary a defensive snap in this game.
Yeah, that was it. That is interesting.
Not a single one. And so they've made the decision. Obviously, he was coming here to play strong safety, and he has been replaced as a strong safety by Ronnie Harrison. He's played both. I think Ronnie can play some. And you saw the other thing we're not talking about. The corner switch side some in this game, which is something that Denzel had really not done before, Denzel and Money Mitch. It wasn't like he was following Fuller. They were just doing it to maybe make the quarterback think about, okay, I don't know, each play, it's different. I don't know which side Denzel's going to be on. I liked that. The other thing they did is they put Sendejo near the line of scrimmage more often than he had been previously and let Ronnie Harrison play some of that single high and some of your cover 3 or cover 1 type looks, which I also thought was a good thing. Carl Joseph, 8 special team snaps, 0 defensive snaps. Former first round was the best player on the Raiders defense by all accounts last year before he got hurt. I wonder if he's a guy that maybe we can work in here going forward and get Joseph on the field with Ronnie Harrison at times.
Yeah, because the other thing that continues to happen, and it happened on the touchdown, to Fells, was deep seam. It's just where we've had trouble all year long is deep in the seam.
Just a step late.
Being there and being it's just something we're a step late. We're just not there, and so
yeah.
And that's something that obviously the Texans weren't able to take full advantage of that, but they still got a touchdown out of it in that same thing that we've seen a lot this year. So that's something that's going to have to be shored up. Certainly, Wentz can take advantage of that with Ertz. And Jacksonville throws it everywhere. Those 2 receivers we mentioned, very talented. And then Tennessee, depending on what they look like. And frankly, if you're going to be a team of consequence, you can't have one of those every game. And feels like we've had one of those about every game.
Yeah, and you're right. And that's still something, to your point, we don't really know. We haven't necessarily been tested in some of these regards, but it's something that we all feel like needs to be cleaned up and needs to be addressed. And so the question becomes, are we going to be able to do that? Will we be able to demonstrate that effectively? And that's, I think, the real question that faces this team, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's clearly the biggest defensive question, and it was not addressed at the deadline, so you feel like the solutions are on the roster. So how will those manifest when the weather becomes, it's tenable to throw the ball, because it just hasn't been the last couple of weeks. So that's something to keep an eye on, certainly. All right, coming up next, we hit you with a little better or worse.
Yes.
Before we do that, though, Rumpke Waste and Recycling, family-owned and operated since 1932. They've been in business for 87 years, keeping neighborhoods clean and green. The customers, employees, communities, they're all part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. Better or worse? Coming up next, Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Snapple, and time to head out on that Fifth Third money line and be joined by our great friend, the Browns senior staff writer, Sir Andrew Gribble, joining us on the Fifth Third money line for a little game we like to call Better or Worse, Higher or Lower, Just Right Sweet Spot. And it's brought to you by Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine, which is, I'm guessing, exactly what they signed up to sponsor, that name I just read, the nation's largest. Oh, we lost this here now. What happened?
That's karma.
There we go. That was, Gibby. That's a good one out of you. That was karma. Let's try that one from the top. Here we go. Just fine. Just go ahead and just X out of things right when I'm in the middle of them. Brought to you by Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine, the nation's largest medical school, is preparing future generations of physicians, pharmacists, and dentists. Gibby, as we bring in Gribble, welcome.
How you guys doing?
We're doing well. Gribbs.
Oh, we're very well.
We're doing very well. One thing we wanted to ask you is your opinion on Ronnie Harrison, who we were talking about just has really emerged, we think, as one of the stars of the defense. And knowing your penchant for falling in love quickly with Brown safeties, are you putting him on the all 41-year team?
Well, I mean, I'll leave that guy up to you guys. I mean, it's Pro Bowl voting season too. I mean, if he makes the Pro Bowl, I mean, that's got to be a lock, right?
I would say so. Certainly.
You're so quick to anoint, Gribbs. I mean, you were
Yes.
so quick to anoint in the past, safeties on just in their first year here. So we just wanted to make sure that you weren't having that quick trigger again this year.
Although I support this one, for the record.
For the record, let's state that I was on the right side of this debate, and that I was the one who put Dalen McCutcheon in the right light here.
I don't know what he's talking
Gribble,
about.
I have
I don't
tried
know
to
that way at all.
defend this.
What's that?
I have tried to defend you and
He's
I.
stealing our
because we
story.
were
We
both-
love Dalen McCutcheon.
Yeah.
Kutch, they call
It's
him.
unbelievable.
Wow.
Neither one of them, Gribble, even knew who Dalen McCutcheon was.
That's erroneous.
That's not
insulting.
true.
Not
It's
true.
It's erroneous.
That's just hurtful.
It's erroneous.
I don't know
Painful.
if it's untrue,
Sad.
It is untrue.
though. All right. Maybe. Let's play a little higher or lower, Gribble. Thanks for coming along. Gribble, are you home, by the way, or are you in the building somewhere?
I am home, and a lovely coating of snow out here in Hudson.
Yes.
It just keeps coming down.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
Neighbors.
You and Bishop living in Pittsburgh
Yeah.
West. That's where you are right now.
No, Gibby, you're the last survivor on the West Side. Come join us.
Oh, that'll never happen. I shouldn't say never, but yeah. Who
Yeah,
knows?
Gibbs, I was with you. I said never a couple of years ago, and look where I am now. Things change.
Yeah, I was going to say, after I said that, I'm like, don't say never. That could totally change.
Come on over.
Nah, not right now. I'm good. I'm good. I got my zero turn. Life's good. A nice big fire pit. I can blow
I
things
think you're going to
up.
be doing much zero
Things are
turning
As if
here.
you can't do
What are
those
you
things.
gonna- what are you gonna do with your
You
zero
can't do
turn?
those
Look
things
at
on
it?
the East Side.
Yeah.
Don't
There's
think for
plenty
a
of fire
minute.
pits
Don't
on
think
the
for a minute that I won't take it out on the roads. Just take it for a little spin. Make sure it's running right, running accordingly. And I'm not mowing anything.
Do you live in a world where somehow if you live on the East Side, you can't have a zero turn or a fire pit?
I believe he does. I have a fire pit.
As do I.
I don't just have a fire pit.
Yeah.
I believe you've seen my ability to burn things, Bishop.
Well, that's true. I have.
Yeah.
I have. But I mean, you can do that same stuff out here.
Okay. Well, I mean
Yeah.
to each his or her own. You know, you guys do
One
your
day,
thing
Gibby,
over
one
there,
day.
and you know,
All right.
have your country club gatherings, and I'll be on the west side. It'll be good. It'll be fun. Stop by anytime. I have refreshments. It's good. Well, I
Water's always
live the
warm.
hillbilly lifestyle.
Go ahead.
All right, kids. Let's get going here. This week's higher or lower compliments of our friend Pete Prisco at CBSSports.com. First and foremost, the Browns come in ranked 14th. Last week he had them at 14 as well. He does not have them moving this week. And what he says about the Browns, they can run it and run it and run it. That makes them weatherproof, but can they pass it well enough? Do you agree, disagree? Should they be higher or lower, or are they just right? Like how I corrected that?
No.
Gribble, I'll start
I
with
don't
you
know
on
if you
this.
did.
I'm going to go with higher on this one, and it's more to do with his assessment of the team right now. And I think that I've been having a lot of these conversations with people, and it's to have a true feeling of what the stadium was like these last two games, you actually did have to be there. I mean, the TV does not do it justice. My walk to the parking lot after Sunday's game was insane. I mean, it's weather unlike anything I've seen in my 6 years with the Browns. Let's have some normalish conditions before we're throwing stones at a passing game that just had 5 touchdowns and over 300 yards against the Bengals a couple weeks ago.
Zegura.
I think it's sweet spot. And Gribbs, when you say higher, does that mean the Browns are better than 14?
I do. I think,
Okay.
especially with the Colts being there at 12. I mean, come on.
We beat the Colts head to head. I like that. I think that the Browns are better as well, which is a lower number than 14. I'd put them in that 12-13 range. I do think his question is valid. I do. I know we threw it on the Bengals, but we need to throw the ball on all of our opponents, and we need to be able to do that consistently. A third of our touchdown passes by our quarterback came in that one game against the Bengals. The 8 others have produced 10 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns in one game. So I do think I know we can run it. I know we all know our path to victory. The question will be, are we going to be able to throw it against teams like Baltimore and Pittsburgh and Tennessee, who may make it a little more difficult for us to run the football? I think that's still the big question that needs to be answered over the final 7 games if this is a team that not only wants to get in the playoffs, but have an opportunity to do something in the playoffs.
Bishop?
Look, you got to be higher than the Colts, but I don't have us higher than the Cardinals right now. So I think our sweet spot is right there at 13. I like what he did by having the Titans worser than us, because I think that is where they are. They are worser than us. But I would have us better than the Colts, but slightly behind. We are. But they've been pretty bad the last couple of weeks. But I can't put us above the Cardinals. So I think 13 is where we need to be right now.
I think that's a good spot. And if we beat the Titans, the stage is set. Remember, it's 2 out of these 3, 1 out of the 3 against the Titans, the Ravens, and the Steelers. And frankly, I think you can beat this Ravens team and the Steelers. Who knows what they're going to even be playing for in Week 17. And you got to sweep the New York teams. That gets you to 10-6. Now, you have upside over that, obviously. And right now, we've gotten one of them. Let's get another one this weekend. But I agree with you on that Titans game, I think, is big, and they are beatable. They're very similar to us in a sense of how they like to play the game.
Next.
Can I add just a little bit more context on my point about the passing? We're seeing all these assessments after the last 2 Browns games, which has been fair. The Browns haven't passed the ball for very much. But you look back at what the other teams are doing in this game. Derek Carr has never thrown for less yards in a game in which he was healthy in his entire career. Deshaun Watson has not thrown for fewer yards in a game since Week 4 in 2019. I think a lot of these assessments are based on recency bias, which is just it's throwing off, I think, a little bit of the state of the offense right now.
But to be fair, Vegas and Houston would point to massive stretches of just air superiority. Carr throwing for 303. Watson, 6 games with 2 or more passing touchdowns, 6 straight with a quarterback rating over 100. We haven't, which I think the passing game is really, it's not just us, it's our ability to stop the passing game as well. I think it's all right there.
Next.
Higher or lower?
There we go. All right, we get into it now. Number 1, the Steelers. Number 2, the Chiefs. Does anybody have any disagreement on that? Speak now, forever hold your peace.
Yes.
Frivolous. They're the 2 best teams in football. I mean, you can put them wherever.
Hold on. Gribble has a Gribble? Airing of the grievances?
I just think the Chiefs are number 1 and the Steelers are number 2. I've been beating that drum for weeks now, and I'll stick with it.
Ric Flair would say to be the man, you got to beat the man. They're the defending Super Bowl champions, so they would still get you've got to be beaten to be knocked off that pedestal. But they're 2 teams in a class unto themselves, in my opinion.
All right, that takes us to number 3. The New Orleans Saints are ranked 3rd at 7-2. Should they be higher, lower, or are they just right? Zegura, floor yours.
And I know this is going to violate many of our covenants in the fact that they are 2-0 against the Buccaneers. There's just something watching the Saints. They don't look like the Saints. And yes, their defense is good, and we saw that excellent performance. I just don't know that they're necessarily the 3rd best team in the NFL. And in fact, it wouldn't surprise me at all to know that they played the Rams, who are ranked 10th, for example, and would lose to the Rams. It wouldn't surprise me if they would lose to the Bills or the Raiders or the Bucs, even though they've beaten them twice, and I know that's happened in real life. There's something about them that doesn't look right when Drew's out there. Now, Jameis coming in, I think could actually open up their offense. Maybe throw some picks, but he can at least push the ball down the field. They run such a compressed offense right now that it's tough for me to have them third on this list. So I think they are worse than this. And I also believe teams 3 through 10, throw them in a hat. You could jumble them around and make the case for whatever ranking order you want.
Bishop.
I think you might even go even a little further down. If the Cardinals played the Saints right now, you sure? I mean, I think it's
no.
A lot of these teams have big flaws, and a lot of them have. Here's the thing with the Saints: you can't have him at number 3 with Jameis at quarterback. You just can't, based on what you saw from him in the game. Now he's going to get a whole week, and we'll see where it is. You're judging. There's a perfect get out of jail free card on handling this, and that is the fact that Drew Brees isn't there. There's no way that you could have the Saints behind the Buccaneers because they whipped them with Brees twice. So that's impossible. But Brees isn't there anymore, so then the Saints have to come back. And I think they would come back probably somewhere in the 9-10 range with Jameis based on what I saw. It was brief, I know, but it was really skittish from him. Very, very skittish. Lower. Worse.
Gribble, what say you?
Yeah, I've got them lower as well. And I think it's when I look at these teams grouped in with the Saints, the Ravens, the Bucs, and the Packers, and I am worried about Jameis Winston coming into the Saints offense. I mean, Drew Brees has struggled this year, but he only has 3 picks. Jameis could get that in the first half. I mean, I think that could really hurt them moving forward. I just think of those 4 teams, though, the Saints have the lowest ceiling. I think that the Packers and Bucs and Ravens, when they're clicking and really going well, I think they are a better team than what the Saints are now. And so when I throw in the Jameis factor in there, that's why I have to put them lower.
Next.
Would we also say, though, that the Saints have the highest floor of those teams?
I think I would agree with that as well. But that's why I'm projecting here.
Yeah, it's tough.
Next.
Higher or lower?
The Packers come in at number 4. Tampa Bay at number 5. At number 6, Baltimore, we go all the way down to number 7. How about the Las Vegas Raiders at 6-3, up 3 spots in Pete Prisco's poll? Should they be higher, lower, or are they just right? Bishop, you lead us off.
Oh, what a rare treat. Listen, this is a tricky one. You did a good job on this one, Gibby, because I think the Raiders are better than the Ravens, but I think they're worse than the Bills. So what do you do with them? I mean, they're probably in the sweet spot. I would probably flop the Bills, and I would not have the Ravens even at 8 at this point based on what they've been the last few weeks. They've got some real issues. So I'm going to go sweet spot for the Raiders. But, again, to Zegura's point earlier, a lot of these teams are interchangeable. But they have some things sorted out. They play spirited. That Abram kid is got a ton of moxie on the back end, and they got it going with Jacobs now. So they're going to be a tough out. I think this week it's going to be humbling for them. But they're going to be a tough out going forward. I like what Gruden's done.
Gribble, what do you got?
I think I just got them slightly worse. I'm just flipping them with the Bills. I just think with the Raiders, they're playing really well right now. I think this might be the peak of them this season. I think that their lack of pass rush is going to get the best of them as the season goes on. So I'm putting the Bills 1 spot ahead of them.
Zegura.
I'm putting them ahead of the Ravens. I'm out on the Ravens. I'm going to drop the Ravens like Beau behind both the Raiders and the Bills. I'm not yet ready to put the Dolphins ahead of them. And frankly, I like the Rams better also. There's something wrong with that team. The Raiders are a good team. Carr's playing well. It is a well-designed offense. You've got Waller. You've got speed to hit home runs on the outside. Jacobs back-to-back 100-yard rushing games. I like this Raiders team, and I think they are a spirited team. If they can just be competitive with the Chiefs in what a lot of people I think are expecting to be a blowout, it would say a lot. To beat them once and then really hang with them again would say a lot about this Raiders team to me.
Next.
Higher or lower?
Number 8 of the Bills, number 9 of the Dolphins that we've been talking about. The Dolphins are 6-3, up 2 spots in Pete Prisco's poll. Gribble, should they be higher, lower, or are they just right?
I wrestled with this one a little bit, but I've just got to be honest with myself. If I'm seeing them in a game with both the Rams again and the Seahawks on a neutral field, I'm probably taking those other 2 teams yet. So I think I'm putting them a little bit lower, though they've been very impressive, and I think it can be scary that we're going to see Tua get better and better as this goes on, and then you give them another year to really load up on some skill players on this team, and then you got to really watch out.
Zegura.
I think they're good. I really do. I don't think it's smoke and mirrors. Where I was down on the Bears when they were 5-1. I thought they were trash. They are. This is a well-coached team with Brian Flores. Their defense is underappreciated for what they're doing. Now, can they continue to produce a defensive or special teams touchdown every week? No, they cannot. So they are going to suffer some losses, but this is a top half of the league team. So I don't think they're number 9. To Gribbs' point, I'm taking the Cards, Seahawks, and Rams against them again. I would even take the Colts over them. I would take us over them right now if there was a big game. But they are a good team, and they're ascending. They will continue to get better.
Bishop.
Same.
Next.
Higher or lower?
I want to get in here at number 11, the Seahawks. The Rams in between the Dolphins and the Seahawks. Rams 6-3. At one point, I think they were number 1 in Mike Florio's poll the one week.
The Seahawks or the
Seahawks were number 1.
Yeah, they were undefeated.
And now they're
for a
down
while,
to number 11.
Yeah, no.
Where am I at? Zegura. Should they be higher, lower, or are they just right?
Look, I'm still taking them to beat the Dolphins. They're a top 10 team. They're just a flawed team. They've got Russ is unbelievable, but it's just so much asking him to be flawless week in and week out. Their defense has been exposed, and while Carson and Hyde are out, they don't have a ground game, so they are not great, but they're still top 10 because that's how good Russ, Metcalf, and Lockett are. So I think they're better than their ranking, but not significantly so. It's right in the neighborhood.
Bishop.
They're better. I think they're better than the Ravens right now. I think I would probably pick them over the Raiders. I would probably pick them over the Dolphins. They get a chance. They play Arizona this week. They lost in a troubling way. Zegura's right. They're a little broken right now. Now they can fix some of that. A lot of it is their run game. They have nothing. They have no option there. And Russ has struggled the last 2 weeks, but you feel like he's going to get it back on track. I do think they are still a team. It's interesting because I think some of these teams in this area, there's no path for them to make a run. And I think the Seahawks can still make a run. And that's a lot of it is Russell Wilson's greatness, but their ceiling is still relatively high.
Gribble.
Yeah, I've got them higher. I think they really do miss Chris Carson right now in the running game because you look back at this past week, Russell Wilson was their leading rusher. I had no idea until I just pulled up a box score that Alex Collins is on this team.
Yeah.
He got some former Ravens running back. I just think that them and the Packers have kind of hit like a little rough spot in the middle of the season, but I like both of these teams, both of those teams moving forward.
All right, guys. That's this week's higher or lower.
Better or worse. Thanks,
Gribbs.
Gribbs.
No problem. See you guys.
Always good talking to Gribbs every single Tuesday. And a reminder that Gribbs and all guests who appear on CBD do so via the Fifth Third Money Line. Fifth Third Bank making Cleveland Browns Daily a Fifth Third better. Much more to come. Cleveland Browns Daily, a 50 is Cleveland. Nominations for the 2020 Helmets program now being accepted. Zenith invites you to nominate your Ohio high school to receive $25,000 worth of new Zenith helmets. Visit promotions.clevelandbrowns.com to learn more. Coming up tomorrow on the first Friday edition of the program, the NFL.com's Mark Sessler will join the program. You got snow on the west side, Gibby?
1 minute.
A little bit. Yeah, and a little bit.
Dusting?
We've got the snow. We've got snow on the east side. Come spin around in
We
your
got snow,
zero
baby.
turn. By the way, want to give a quick shout-out to Jarvis Landry, who hosted his inaugural Thanksgiving food drive, a drive-through meal distribution where over 300 Thanksgiving meals were distributed to help local families in need. So great job by Jarvis, and just a fine man, fine human.
One of the great humans. I just love him. Love him to death.
30.
Fantastic human and representative of the city and the organization. We're back tomorrow for more fun. The next level is coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.